Kansas and Kansas State is such an interesting matchup for so many reasons. Now, there's some quarterback concerns for Kansas, but I think that this is still a very fun team, even without their quarterback. We'll see what happens if Jason Bean can't go. Jalen Daniels continues to be out with his back issue. That sounds like that's serious, but Jason Bean is the one that we're looking at. If you have to go back to a freshman in Cole Ballard, I think that you're kind of in trouble against Kansas State. But if Jason Bean is back and he's 100%, then Kansas is in business. Devin Neal obviously having a big year for the Jayhawks. And I think that he's benefited from having been in the lineup. Obviously, Jalen Daniels brings a good dynamic too. So it's not like he doesn't miss his starting quarterback, but Jason Bean has proven to be a much better player than we expected. And Devin Neal has benefited from that. I think that that's been really fun to watch. It's been a good 1-2 punch. And Neal continues to be a steady force for the Jayhawks offense. The defense at times has looked really good, and then at other times has struggled to get stops. And I think that right now you're kind of waiting to see if this defense is going to be the defense that holds certain teams to under 20 points, or if you're going to be the team that gives up 39 to Oklahoma State, gives up 33 to Oklahoma. There's a lot of talent on both sides of the football. There's a lot of playmakers, but you're facing a team in Kansas State that is going to be very physical, and you have to get ready for that because they are going to run the football. They want to win the line of scrimmage. Their defense is swarming. You have to be prepared for that. And surprisingly enough, Kansas State is actually averaging more points per game offensively than Kansas is. They're also better defensively. So that's something that will definitely be in Kansas State's favor. But the Jayhawks could find a way to figure things out. They could find a way to pull off a win here. But Kansas State has a lot to be excited about. The return of Will Howard has been huge. Now, obviously, when you look at what they've done without him, I think they're fine. But having Will Howard has surprised a lot of people. When he came to the lineup last year for the Big 12 championship game, I think a lot of people just assumed that Kansas State was in big trouble. And I think that they assumed he wouldn't be as good. Will Howard has surpassed everyone's expectations. Even if you were a Will Howard fan, I don't think anybody expected what we've seen so far this year. And that's with an injury. Imagine what his numbers could look like if he played every single game. He has been a breath of fresh air for an offense that at times feels like they run the football because they can't rely on their quarterback. They can rely on Will Howard this year. They can rely on the passing attack to step up. And that's even without a well-known wide receiver one. So if you're able to do that, Will Howard continues doing what he's doing. I think that Kansas State is in good hands. And Howard's been really fun to watch, but it's also this defense. This defense lost a number of guys to injury this year. They lost a number of guys from last year's team to the NFL draft to graduation, and they continue to play at a high level, averaging under 19 points per game. They're good against the run. They limit explosive plays, and that's what Kansas wants to do. They want to create explosive plays, and Kansas State has so far proven against their competition that they have ways to slow those guys down. Now, if they're able to play Jason Bean, if Kansas can play Jason Bean, obviously Kansas State has more to worry about than they do with Cole Ballard. But it's a Lance Leipold led team. So you know that Chris Kleiman and his staff are trying to figure out what do we need to do to slow down this freshman? What do we need to do to slow down this offense? Because there's a number of playmakers that you need to worry about. And Kansas State has the defense to do it. But it's also you can't be too careful with that team. On the flip side, I think that besides Will Howard, there are a number of players to keep an eye on. When you look at DJ Giddens, when you look at Trayshawn Ward and what they've been able to do running the football, it's been really fun to watch. I think it's a good 1-2 combo, and that's an explosive unit. Phillip Brooks has been good as both a receiver and a returner as well. So he is someone who can get the football and make explosive plays. Ben Sinnott is great at tight end, a very underrated option in college football. And the defense, again, there's not really like a Big 12 player of the year type guy, but they have a number of players. They have depth. They have players that buy into the system. They swarm to the football, and that's more dangerous than just having one or two guys make most of your plays. I think that's been really fun to watch. It's been a really good unit. And like I said before, they know how to limit those explosive plays. They know how to slow teams down, and they were really good at doing that. But you're facing a Kansas team that wants to be explosive, that wants to create big plays, and it's a matter of dictating the pace. A lot of these teams this week, I feel like we have a lot of matchups of one team that wants to dictate the pace and slow it down, and another team that I should say they also want to dictate the pace, but they want to go fast. They want to create explosive plays and they want to score in a hurry. If Jason Bean is back to being 100%, Kansas is in good hands. If he's not, I'm very curious how that's going to play out for them. I'm very curious what Lance Leipold and that staff have up their sleeves because it's just not the same offense. And we saw that last week. You only put up 13 points. But I think part of that was just you're throwing this freshman into the fire and letting him see what he can do. And it's not an ideal time to do that. But if you have to go again, they're probably prepping with him to say, you might have to play. You might have to step up. And you're going against a guy, like I said, and Will Howard, who's been a nice breath of fresh air. I think that the fact that he has been a good player for Kansas State says a lot about his preparation and his development. And that's been really good. Now, obviously, his numbers aren't the craziest, but he has had some consistent games and some really efficient games over the past two games as well. Baylor and Texas combined for 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. He has only thrown 1 interception in his last 5 games. He's been really solid for that offense, an offense that wants to run the football and they need their quarterback to be efficient. And so far, he has done that. When it comes to this game, even if Jason Bean is in this game, I like Kansas State better. If Jason Bean is not playing, then you're looking at you're looking at a Kansas State win to me. That's just my opinion. I think that's what's going to happen. I think Kansas State is just a more complete team. They have the defense that can create stops, get the ball back to their offense, and their offense has been better than expected. They're putting up points, nearly 40 points per game, and their defense is keeping teams under 20. That is the team I'm going to lean with. But I have a feeling with this rivalry game, you just never know what to expect. Even if Bean's not playing and Ballard has to, I think Kansas has enough in this game, has enough investment in this game to win it. But I think Kansas State right now is that steadying team, that consistent team that will get the job done.